Okay. So, welcome, everyone. And so, we are here today to talk about self concept. What is your self concept? What is your self concept of yourself? I was on a call last evening, and and pretty much I want to say on that particular call, and even with that host, the word self concept comes up a lot. And it pretty much reminded me that I have talked about self concept before. And we were talking about our purpose, our business, our mission. Y'all, self-concept is everywhere. And I don't know. I do understand why. I understand why it happens, like when it comes to jobs, oh, don't bring your personal stuff over here. We have to focus on the business. But whatever is personal, it is part of the business as well. And if anything that we know as entrepreneurs, we carry our whole self. I mean, our whole self here. Anything that like any unresolved issues, any wounds that you have, anything that you are not good at, it shows up. It's going to show up. And this is where pretty much where you can get some assistance, get some support. But the thing is that if your self concept, put on this, your self concept can help you or it can hurt you. And I know, like for myself, like when I get on live, sometimes I feel like, and I've talked about it before, that I'm performing per se. And I want to get really personal. And so, not as personal as I am like in the therapy room, but somewhere in between there is like tone it down some, Sharon. But not only that, what I come to realize again, this is where that self-awareness is. It's like, oh, I am comparing myself to others. I was listening to somebody the other day, and they were, and like some people are really good storytelling. I would say I'm learning. And this has come up for me before, so y'all let me know if you can identify with this. Because again, it is a self-concept. And let me back up. I'm sorry. I just dived in and didn't say what self-concept is because some of you may not even know. Generally, when it comes to self-concept is how you think about yourself. How do you view yourself? And that involves your identity, how you see yourself. It's your belief, your values, as well as your abilities, the things that you can do. But it also, self concept is how you think others see you, or even how others see you, but it's mostly how you think others see you. I'm going to say that more so than it is actually, but I'm going to say it's the subliminal messages that you get of how others see you. And all of that has to do with a lot of times of how you show up. So sometimes for entrepreneurs, and everybody's at different stages in the entrepreneurship, but all of this has to do with self-care, y'all. In that of how you view yourself can determine how you show up. How you view yourself can but also how you view others can determine how you show up. And it's easy to do. And this is why it's so important that you cater to your own self concept, how you view yourself, and how you show up. Yeah, we can show up better, but how do you do that? First, you need to eliminate, delete, eradicate however you see others. So, going back to me, Because again, images, what we see, what we hear really plays a good part, but how you interpret that plays it. Now, we all know, like when it comes to the news station, when it comes to all of that, they have a teleprompter. I don't even know how old I was when I knew that. I didn't know. I just thought they were talking because that is completely different from a motivational speaker, like someone being on a stage with no, PowerPoints. And you can do it. I can do it. You can do it. But my whole point, y'all, people on the news, they're not free flowing. Even like when it comes to the awards, there's a teleprompter there. There's something that is telling them what to say exactly. And I know, like for me, when I'm doing something which has been my struggle, to a certain extent, that's why I like bullet points and not strips per se, because my personality completely changed. But because of the way that people are showing up, you want to emulate that. And there's nothing wrong of having that, let's say, as a standard. But it also takes practice to even just read. Because even when I read a teleprompter, most of the time you can tell that I'm reading. What about y'all? But it doesn't mean that you can't show up. Now, in an instance, you may need to practice more. A lot of it comes with practice because just think about it. The majority of the people who's on the news station, most of them have, I don't know all of their background, but most of them have gone to school. You know what I'm saying? They've gone to school to not just study it, but how to present. Even like when it comes to a pastor, when it comes to, preaching, they even learn how to break things down when it comes to speaking. Now, when I took speech in college, I don't remember all of that. We just need to say what we had to say, you know what I mean? But my whole point is saying that is that if I am seeing people, it's like, oh, they do that so flawless. No, they're not. They're not doing it flawless. You know what I'm saying? And let me get back to what I was saying. I was listening to an interview. It's a business interview with someone, and then they were talking about, like how they use chat GPT and how they go about having things and how they're following their strip. And I'm like, oh, really? You know what I'm saying? And they're very knowledgeable and know their stuff. And so when you're thinking that someone is just free flowing, no, they're not. I feel like I can free flow pretty well, but the harm in doing that, sometimes you could be all over the place. And this is why it's good to have notes, y'all. So even if you don't have a teleprompter, I'm not saying you have to have notes, but most of the time it's easier. But the thing is, if you're seeing yourself, oh, I can never be like that. They're, saying their words so flawless and they're doing this. They have help. So what support are you going to put in place so that you can get the help so you can get on screen? And you're like, Sharon, what this got to do with self-care? It has everything to do with self-care because you know why? Because of the fact by you not having something in place, it is decreasing your confidence and your self-concept about yourself, how you see yourself, how you value yourself. The beliefs that you have about yourself goes down because you are not showing up for the things that you need to show up for. And I'm still showing up. But I'm like, oh my, I wish I can. But again, one, it takes practice, but it takes practice with a certain framework. And so I'm using that as an example, was using myself as an example to just kind of show you of how that self-concept can kind of show up. Now, it doesn't mean to stop and not do the thing, whatever it is for you. But ask yourself, how do you see yourself in your business and what are you putting in place so that you can succeed? And even let's say when it comes to a teleprompter, that may be something to be able to use, to get better at it. And I know like sometimes some people say, oh, I don't like using strips because, it may, I'm phony or I'm fake, or I'm gonna say it may feel that way at first, but most of us need some type of framework in the beginning so you have something to go by. Then after that, you may not need it, but you do need your topics. And I would say at least some bullet points of what you want. But pretty much everyone that I study, they have some type of framework, something that they use. And the value of this, now, do I do this each and every time? No, but I'm getting better at it, because one thing that I do know, that's just like this. I pulled this up. I did this. I didn't put the date on it. So I need to make sure I put the dates on this. But I did this weeks ago, probably months ago. And I was like, oh yeah, I want to talk about self-concept again. So I was able to pull it up. And so in saying that, just pretty much in wanting to, again, in talking about your self-concept of how you show up. Because if you're not putting things in place to support you, sometimes the support is, again, you hear me talking about sitting in silence. Y'all, sitting in silence isn't just about being quiet. Sitting in silence is to be able to reflect and think about, how am I seeing myself in my business? How am I seeing myself in my personal life? How am I showing up? And what can I do to support myself? By writing things down is one way, so that if I need to go back and talk about self-concept, to be able to do that. Because sometimes when you are stopping and stalling, yes, it's a form of self-sabotaging, because you're not even putting up the support that you need. And support can be people, places, and things, but most of the support are from us. It's how you think about it. And so part of that is for you to reframe, like I had to reframe, because it has come up before, because I'm like, why am I putting so much pressure on myself? Because like in my eyes, it's this image just like, and even though there are some people who are really good at it. Now, when it comes to answering a question or something, I don't need anything like that, you know? But when it comes to certain things, we may need that, I want to say, like, when we talk, for those of us who are in business now, depending on where you are, when we're talking about the hook and the rehook and things like that, it's kind of like, okay, I need help with that. You know what I mean? And that's the support that you need. And so I'm saying all of that to say, is like sometimes your self-sabotaging can come from because of the way that you are seeing yourself, and even the way that you're seeing others, because of the fact, I'll put it like this: for those who get you and for those who you relate to, those are the people you're going to relate to. Because for people who pretty much have criticism, they just may not be your clients. They may be obsessed on the aesthetics of stuff, of how things look, of how things need to be, because it has the big shiny objects. Again, this is what the newscast does. Like for now, they have everything to make it look good. Like you don't even see the teleprompting. And this is why too, it's like, even though it's a joke and we're laughing, and like if there is a misspelled word or a word that just should not be in there and they say it anyway, it's because they are trained to go exactly by the teleprompt. And this is where you, the entrepreneur who's 40 plus, this is where you have agency over yourself. And you could like, oh no, you know what I'm saying? Because I know, like, sometimes for me, even though chat is very beneficial, I'm gonna say my assistant is very beneficial, But sometimes I'm like, no, I don't like the way that sound. I just need some help in the beginning, of talking how other people may want to hear it. And then I can explain the rest when it comes to, like all of that. And so when it comes to your self-concept, again, your self-concept is how you see yourself, and how you see yourself, that comes from your identity, your beliefs, and your abilities. And again, it's how you view yourself, but it's also of how others think of you. It is these subliminal messages that you get from others, and then you interpret that. And sometimes that may not be on target, and sometimes it may not be. And how people see you is how they see you. And it's okay to know how people see you. Don't compare yourself, and don't use it as judgment per se, but especially by being this business, is data, is information. And so, again, when it comes to our self concept, sometimes you, I may need to reframe how we're seeing things. Just like when it comes to others being on social media, it's like, oh, they don't have to read anything. And then, like me, now that I'm a business person, I'm paying more attention, and I'm like, oh, I saw where their eyes glazed over. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's okay. Some people are more open about it, and others are not. Because, like, for whatever reason, like, whatever message that I have gotten or have perceived or interpreted, it's like, oh, you gotta be perfect. Just look at the camera and just say, ooh, ba da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Without, giving a bad, and make it look picture perfect. But picture perfect isn't really real. You know what I mean? And so it's saying all that. So the other part of self-concept is to reframe and to rewire, your brain, and to reframe your thinking. And that goes with repetition. And so, meaning that I still say to write out your topics, but to also practice it as well, because you want to be able to, that's how you embed the concepts even within you. So, in saying all of that, the main thing I really just want to really talk about is really your self-concept, and how you view yourself will determine how you show up in the world. And it's just information, y'all. It's information. So go ahead and do that video. Go ahead and send that email. And then, even if you are not able to show up at times, give yourself grace. Be honest with yourself why you didn't show up. Sometimes you may just not need to show up to take care of yourself, and then show up the next time. You know what I'm saying? There's no apology. There's no um trying to, again, be perfect. It's like, oh no, I told them it was going to be 30 days and I didn't show up for 30 days. Sometimes you meet, it's the human side of it that it's just human. you know Now I would say if it becomes a pattern, then that may be that is something that needs to be looked at. But the other thing is, show people, because that's the realness. Because, oh, and let me share this before we leave. The thing that did come up to me, I'm like, wow. It's like sometimes we may go, it's like we're into entrepreneurship mainly for some type of freedom, but then you can easily end up enslaving yourself, because you're trying to show up in a certain way, thinking everything has to be perfect. So you end up overworking yourself, um, doing too much, even though the outcome looks really good. And then when people hear the story, you know, it sounds real good. And the only thing I'm going to say, it really depends, y'all. It really does. It just depends on where you are. There are times in which, let's say for caregivers, someone who's a caregiver, they're done and all of this and that. And they're like, oh, I really want to go, to this workshop, to this conference. I mean, I've been on both ends. I've been in it, where I'm supporting, my parents and helping them out and things like that. And there have been times I've missed a conference. And then there are other times in which, I'm doing all of those things, but I'm also able to go. And I'm like, you know what? I am going to go to this thing over here. You know what I'm saying? Because I've done all that I can do over here, and they're taken care of as well. That's the main thing. And so it just really depends. But the main thing is try not to put so much pressure on yourself until you end up having doubts, because that goes into your self concept, because you're putting yourself, on this, you're putting yourself, all up there. Even though people are looking out for you, I'm going to say this because I follow different people and I'm in different communities. And one thing that I can say is that when some talk more openly about it than others, but let's just say when they share, when they reveal, just a human moment, whatever that is, sometimes it's not always a struggle per se, it's just a life thing. But when they're open about that and where they were and what they did, I appreciate that because it also shows the rest of us that we don't have to be a 10 every time, you know? And then if customers expect that, they really may not be your customer because if anything, to be honest, no matter what type of coach that you are, hopefully you're giving them the message that you're human, things needs to be done, but also take care of yourself too. It's of course we know it's not a balance, but it's giving yourself that grace and then get back on the track, because you don't want to be able, I'm saying you don't want to be able, you don't want to again end up being an entrepreneur and you are definitely on the verge of burnout and overwhelm because you're thinking you're not doing enough or you didn't show up, so you got to do extra and things like that. So all of that impacts your self-concept. So reframe sometimes the way you may see something, reframe it, and then sit back and see what may need to be changed of how you see it, and then behaviorally what can you do, because if not, you will pretty much, to be honest, have so much on your plate that it'll be too much for you to handle, and in your business you're not even serving the people that you want to serve because you're not even serving yourself. And that's the main thing, is to be able to serve yourself. Because if you're not serving yourself, you can't serve other people. And that's what self-care is all about. So for those of you who, want to continue to have support when it comes to self-care and guidance and motivation and all of that, and that nudge to say, hey, yes, incorporate some self-care, or that nudge, hey, let's look at your self-concept and see in what areas that you can, you may need to work on. We have a circle for that. We have a community for that, and that is Fortitude Free. And with Fortitude Free, it's exactly in its name, in and of itself. And with that, we help entrepreneurs to build discipline and to embrace those challenges and to thrive and to sustain. I'm going to say that sustain resilience, because y'all, it's a lot of work to be human. It's a lot of work, especially as an entrepreneur. And we're here for a purpose, but take care of yourself. And this is what self-care is all about. So for those of you who want to say, hey, I'm ready to join the circle, comment circle. For those of you who want to find out more about this circle, comment circle, because we don't want you to have yourself, to compromise your self-concept, because you are here for a purpose. We want you to be able to be of service to others. And so, I appreciate all of you who have been here live. And so, let me know in a comment what came up for you, especially when I was telling you about, how I saw, other people sometimes. And even though I do show up, it was like, oh my gosh, I wish I could be that way. But I do know I do better with bullet points and not specifically, like word for word when it comes to certain things. And that's the thing, is to find what works for you, but you can still, because I'm challenging myself to still, get better at the things that I'm not so good at. And so I want you to do the same as well. But I can't wait to hear from you inside the comments.